Hi everyone, and today we are doing tea time, and I have Miss Elenda right here with me.
Hello.
And hi, and we are going to talk about grief and how to process grief. I know that this season has been a lot. A lot of people have lost their loved ones. A lot of people have lost husband, children, co-workers, and it's so hard to process. And Linda lost her mom last year, and I felt like it would be perfect for us to talk about it because I lost my mom and I lost my dad and I lost so many people in my life. So I was like, yeah, we are. We're gonna talk about grief. So
We're not gonna be that happy about it. I promise
No.
we're not gonna be that
no, we're
happy
gonna
about
probably
it.
cry.
But we'll definitely discuss it, especially
Yeah.
with COVID-19. I know the way COVID-19 kicked off for me is shortly after they shut everything down.
Yeah.
We had a phone call, and it was on a Monday, and it was from his mother saying that his stepfather had COVID-19. And the entire time, it was so new, and I didn't really know how to process it. But his stepfather, 74 years old,
Yeah.
diabetes, other health ailments.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, are they preparing for the death of this guy?
Yeah.
And my husband thought I was so rude
To say that.
I didn't say it that way, but I kind of did, because I was like, is your mom ready? You know, are
Yeah.
the finances in order? Is she ready to
Like
bury him?
mentally and
And
financially.
I don't know if it's because I had just buried my mom, but all of the process on burying a loved one was on my mind.
Yeah.
And I instantly felt that for him. And he later told me, like later being later that day, that was extremely rude.
Oh.
You know, for me to immediately think that his stepfather was dying.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm so sorry. But then I was telling my friends, like, but it's a big chance he's gonna die. You know, and they were like,
That's
I know, but
yeah.
don't, be there for him, support him. And I
Yeah.
said, okay. A week later, he went into the hospital, and it progressed and it got worse. Fast forward, I think he was in the hospital a total of 21 days. And of course, he had pneumonia. He couldn't remember things. It attacked his brain and his lungs, and he was gone. And I felt so bad because I almost felt like I jinxed it. I almost felt like I jinxed it.
Yeah.
And there was a part when he was in the hospital where they said he was looking good. His vitals were coming around, and he was coming around. Then all of a sudden, he took a deep dive, and then she went in that astronaut suit and said goodbye to her husband, and he died within minutes. So COVID-19 and grief is a whole nother level. So before we start the camera, we was talking about if it hits different. But I don't know that grief hits different yet because I haven't lost enough close people to me to be able to compare it.
Yeah.
But do you think it hits different?
I think it hit different because when I lost my mom, I was 10.
Okay.
So I wasn't super close with my mom. So I kind of felt like something was wrong, something's happening. And then when I get home, my dad's face was like totally different.
Right.
And then I knew something has happened.
Right.
And so even though I grieved my mom and I felt like I lost something, when I lost my dad, my world collapsed.
You were older though, right?
I was 15.
Yes, you could process it.
I could process it, but I knew my dad was gonna die, but I didn't know how soon he was gonna die. So even though I was preparing mentally, I was still not ready.
But you can't be ready for death.
No, you can't.
I've learned you just cannot be ready. Even if you're watching someone pass away daily, or if it hits you out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Either situation, you cannot be prepared. You cannot be prepared.
No, you can't. But it's so funny because when I found my dad and he was gone, when I got to the room, he was laying there like hopeless. And as a 15-year-old, I just knew, and I just sat on the floor. I was numbed. I was speechless.
Yes.
I felt like my whole world just collapsed.
Yes.
And the pain, at that moment, I was numbed.
You know, I think I went through shock first.
Yeah.
When it came to grief. It was a Wednesday morning, and my sister called me. I was getting together my little girls, brushing teeth, getting ready, trying to get to the bus stop. Come on, let's get to the bus stop.
Yeah.
And my sister called, and she was like, your mom has called me. I'm on my way over there. She said that, she doesn't feel well. And I'm like, okay, well, call me and let me know.
Yeah.
Dismissive. Just got off the phone. she called me back, and she's like, yeah, the paramedics are here, and I could hear my mom in the background, and I was like, wait, wait, are they going to take her to the hospital? At this point,
your mind is somewhere else.
Now, because I'm hearing my mom talking in the background, and she doesn't sound normal. I hear her gasping for breath, and I hear her barely able to complete a sentence. So my sister was very nonchalant. We're going back and forth on where to take her, which hospital.
Because I'm wasting time.
And we don't understand it. I mean, I don't understand it. I'm like, well, she's not making any urgent plans, so it must not be that serious. And then I went to work, new job. I've been there maybe 2 days. And I know that my sister called me back, and she was like, I don't know, they switch hospitals. They're not at the hospital they said they were going to be at. I was like, well, call me let me know what the doctor says. She called me back. She was screaming, saying she's gone. I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean who's gone? Slow down. Say it again. And she's like, you heard me. You heard what I said. She's gone. And at that moment, it was just like, it's got to be a mistake. It's got to be a mistake. I just heard her talk. Yeah, like it didn't happen. Not to me. Not my mom.
No.
So I get in the car and get there, and sure enough, we're looking at her corpse, and she's still warm. But all the loved ones in the room, and we had to say goodbye to her. And it was just so surreal, because I just spoke to her yesterday. She wanted to change her cable company. She was tired of Comcast. So for her not to be there that very next day was just, it was surreal.
Yeah.
And the next day is when it hit me. And that's when I felt like I was paralyzed, screaming and crying. I was just thankful to be in the house by myself, because it hit so hard. And people don't understand this about grief, and I didn't understand it either. It's heavy.
It is heavy.
It is so heavy, and there's no way to describe it other than saying it's heavy.
It is. See, I got a chill.
Yeah, you can just feel it on you, and you can't get it off of you. Yeah. So people don't understand why people are so depressed, or why they can't move on, or why they can't get over it.
You can never get over it. You just learn
to live
one day at a time.
Yeah.
But you can never, some days I miss my dad so much. I want to pick up the phone and just call him and be like, I want to talk to him.
Mm-hmm. And I can't tell you how many times I tried.
And I cry. Like yesterday, I was crying.
Really?
I miss it's been so many years. My dad died when I was 15. I'm 41.
Yes.
And I still can't get over the fact that he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not easy.
It's not. And I didn't realize that their memories are in everything.
It is.
They're in everything. From the word stop on a stop sign to a song that may play.
Yeah.
Everything triggers some type of memory. A store, a mall, it doesn't matter. Like something triggered daily. Because I honestly didn't believe when people were grieving that they were like, I think about them daily. I'm like, no, you don't.
Like you're being dramatic until you go through the
and you process. Go through it and you're like, oh, you are thinking about them, not in a grieving way, but sometimes just like, God, I miss her, or this reminds me of that person.
How did the girls process
children and grief? Listen, that might have been the hardest chapter of grief for me, or the hardest stage, is trying to explain to a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old that their granny is gone. So I was reading a blog, and it was talking about collect books, to read bedtime stories about heaven and God, and I was just trying to introduce them to it, but shield them from it as well.
Yeah.
So it was a balancing act that I don't know how well I did, but we finally got through it. I remember talking to them during bath time a lot about how she's gone. And they still want to go to her house when we pass by the subdivision. I'm
Did
like,
they ask questions like, where did she go? Where is she at? Is she coming back?
No, their biggest thing was, can we go? Right. So it's not like, is she coming back? Like, we just want to go where she is. And I'm like, no, but you sat here and told us how great heaven was. And now you telling them you don't want them to go there. But then I just had to say, I don't want you to go there now. Like, you'll eventually be in heaven, but not now. And I was 40 when she passed, and they're still very young in processing it. But now they totally get it, and they think her stone is her house.
That's a new home.
The headstone. Yeah. So it's like, can we go? It was her birthday. Can we go to her stone and have cake and ice cream? Like, no, we're not going to go to her stone and do that. But my mom was a stickler about, I lived my life. you should
The
live yours.
fullest, yeah.
So I have to remember that, and that plays repeatedly in my mind when I do feel like, okay, I want to go to the cemetery, or I just want to lay in the bed. No, she lived her life, and I have to live mine.
Yeah. She lived it to the fullest.
Yes, she definitely did. So, and she was as spontaneous as I am.
Yeah.
And people often judge me because I'm so spontaneous, and I have kids and a husband, and I work, and they're like, you know, you need to be spending time with your husband. Like, you need to get a husband, and then you can tell me how to keep mine.
How to keep your. I mean, sometimes people are just like judgmental. People look.
And
at
I'm
your life
judgmental. I'm the most judgmental person. I'm judgmental.
You are the most positive person. Oh my God! Remember when we first started training with you, and you were my trainer, and you come to the room all like hype up in the morning. I'd be like,
now I'm bubbly and energetic and very optimistic.
I'll be like, look at her, like, did she smoke some weed? She come in there all excited, like, really?
I can't tell you how many people ask me, what am I on? Like, what are you on? What are you on? Can we have some? It's like, it's life. Wake up and be happy and live it.
You have to be happy because you can't live your life
absolutely
being sad every single day.
And it makes life so long and harder if all you do is wake up
and be sad. You have to find a way to balance it.
Agreed.
You have to. It's crazy. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. Like, I was talking to one of you knew her. I don't want to say her name.
Okay.
And I was telling her like about the grieving process, and she said that my husband has been dead for so long, and I'm still not ready.
Not ready for?
Not ready to come to peace with it. And she said she don't want people to judge her for still grieve, and I said, why would they judge you? Everybody grieves differently.
Absolutely.
I grieve differently. I'm 41, and sometimes I miss my dad, which I think is a normal thing for you to meet someone.
It is.
After they are gone, because you can never sometimes go to my phone, I'm going to the picture, and I have pictures, and I put the pictures side by side with my son, and they look so much alike, and I said, that is when he came back.
And you will see them in pieces.
In pieces,
because my daughter has my mom's smile.
Yeah.
She just does. So when she starts smiling, I see my mom. I see that joy and that happiness that my mom has. So it's a blessing to be able to see that in other people.
Yeah.
I hope that I'm not grieving for that long period of time. Luckily for me, and I shouldn't say luckily, however, I'm glad it was my mother and not my spouse, because then that's a different type of grief. And I was joking with my in-laws just last week, and I was saying to the mother that lost her stepdad, don't be scared to get back out there now. You might want another companion. And everyone was like, no,
it's too soon.
I said, listen, don't judge me, because if my husband, God forbid, please, it's hard for me to find a perfect match, but if something happens to him, I'm going to be remarried. And they all were laughing. They thought I was joking. And I was like, well, I'm glad y'all think it's funny, but this is serious. Like, I'm not going to live my life by myself if I could avoid it. So I know there are rules to it. 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. It's probably going to be about 3 months for me. Like, the people that keep checking in on me, I'm going to start asking about their cousins and their best friends and their uncles, and try to find another mate. I'm not going to roll and wallow in grief and not live my life, because you have to.
You have to.
You just have to move on at some point.
You have to. But I think that for some people, it's not that simple.
But do you think some people use it as a crutch? Do you think some people, because it's like being pregnant, you get all this attention with this big old belly and everyone.
Whatever you can eat so you can hide the
fat.
Yeah.
Yes. So you get all this attention, and then all of a sudden it's gone once the baby comes.
It's gone.
I remember after I had my baby and I went to the mall, and I was kind of looking around like no one was saying, oh my God, congratulations. What are you having? Yeah. Like, all the attention was gone. And I feel that way about grief sometimes, because the phone stops ringing. It just does. People, and it's not on purpose, but life kind of goes on. And people will forget that you went through it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah. And you're like, oh yeah. That was a major chapter for me. How
Yeah.
dare you forget? But then it's the world we live in. People do move on.
Moved on.
So if you're still wallowing in it, you may start to resent people for not still checking in on you or feeling that same sympathy or empathy for you that they once did.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult chapter.
I think it is. It is. And people have to learn to just move on.
Yes.
I think that's what I would say. Move on, but you can never move on completely. Moved on.
It'll be different.
It'll be different.
You can move on, but it's going to be different.
Different.
And you have to accept that portion of it. And I think you'll still find happiness.
Find the happiness.
Absolutely.
You know, it's funny. I was working at my first hotel,
Okay.
and it was Mother's Day.
Okay.
And this guest checked in, and he said, "Are you a mother?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Happy Mother's Day." And I said, "Thank you." And he said, "I picked up my phone to call my mom, and I realized that she's gone." And he said, "Can I ask you something?" I said, "Sure." He said, "How do you move forward?"
Did he know that you didn't have a mother anymore?
No.
Okay.
And I said, "I lost my mom when I was 10,
Right.
and I lost my dad when I was 15.
Mm-hmm.
And I said that you can never forget them, but you learn to put one foot in front of the other.
Yes.
And keep moving forward.
Absolutely.
And even though they are gone, they are still here.
Mhm.
Somehow they are still guiding. I feel like they are still like a guiding angel. They are still guiding and protecting us and making sure like they are still checking in.
Absolutely.
But you can never forget. They leave us with so many memories, like you said, and everything we do is like little like pieces that you have to put together. Like, oh my God, I remember my dad, and
Yeah.
he did it. It was so funny.
Yes.
And you just remember the good times.
It's
And
reminders everywhere.
It is.
But I do realize that people process grief differently,
They do.
and I realize some people are stronger than others or
others.
can hide or cope with it better.
Yeah.
So I try not to be as judgmental with the people who are wallowing in it or reliving it and having death holidays and wanting that attention and that comfort, that constant comfort of people hugging them or wishing them well or still remembering the person. But for me, I don't necessarily need other people to remember her because she's in my heart.
in your
Yeah,
heart,
and she's
yeah.
with me all the time. So
Yeah.
I get it, though. I do.
What would you tell somebody who just lost their mom or dad or grandparent?
Live through it. You have to live through it. You have to go through all of the phases of grief. Go through the anger. Go through the denial. Go through the blame game. Go through the if I only would have done this one more time. Or
Have you ever felt that, like, if I have only maybe gone to the hospital, or maybe the outcome would be different?
No. And I am a strong believer in the butterfly effect. Anything you would have done different, it would have changed so many other things.
Other outcomes.
So I traveled with my mom. I talked to my mom all the time, and we had a wonderful relationship. If you would see me with my mom, you would think she was my friend and not my mom. I even referred to her by her nickname since I was 18. So I have all of these memories, and we had such a special relationship that I wouldn't even touch it. I wouldn't even want to go back and change anything. I just wouldn't. So I didn't go through that beating myself up like, oh, I should have called her. I should have called her back, or I shouldn't have sent her the voicemail. Like, I didn't go through any of that because I don't know if you saw it's a sitcom. Jeez, I'm not going to be able to remember the name of it right now, but it was a funeral scene, and he stood up and he said, I'm good, you know. I said all I had to say while she was here, and that's exactly how I felt. Exactly how I felt. So no, I didn't have any moments where it's like, ooh, I wish I could have done this differently. Was our relationship perfect? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But it was our perfect relationship. So I've accepted it.
You know, I was telling somebody the other day, and I said, I work as a home health aide for 13 years.
Oh, wow.
And I became to have a close relationship with my client's grandparents. And my client, she lost her mom in a tragic accident.
Oh no.
And then her grandfather passed. And then her grandmother, I call her mom. Even though she's not my mom, we have that relationship where I call her mom.
Okay.
And one day, I didn't go to work, and she called me. But for some reason, I saw the call, and I said, you know what, I'm going to call her later. I don't feel like talking. So I put the phone down. And then the same day when I went to her house, she had a stroke.
Oh.
And she died the next day.
So you wish you would have picked up
I
the phone.
wish I could have picked up the phone. I said maybe she has something to tell me. And maybe, just maybe, if I were to pick up the phone, I could have saved her. Or I could have done something different. And to this day, I think I still have that in the back of my head, that maybe I could have prevented her from having, maybe she was calling to tell me, hey, I don't feel good, can you take me to the hospital? Maybe she was calling me for a reason.
Could happen, but that's self-guilt.
I know.
And that's almost like trying to put more guilt on the situation. So I don't even play the what if game.
Yeah.
Because that's going to take you in a rabbit hole.
True.
And you will be stuck there.
True.
And you won't know the right answer.
No.
It's one of those things that...
It's already happened.
Yes, it has
you
already
cannot undo it. The damage has
on.
been done.
Yes.
You can't undo it.
Yeah, unfortunately. So, and maybe you weren't meant to have that conversation.
Maybe you weren't meant to.
So, you can play it on both ends, but no, I don't play the what if game. That would have me in the bed crying all day long.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy.
It's sad.
It's sad and it's crazy. This year has been so crazy.
And everyone now can relate to guilt or grief.
Yeah.
Because of COVID-19 right now.
It has taken so many lives.
It has so many lives and affected so many people. And even if it hasn't affected you or your friends or your family, it's one step away.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult thing to deal with.
It is. Oh my God, I'm so glad we had this conversation.
Me too.
I was like, yeah, having a conversation with Elenda today. So, yeah, if you're out there and you're grieving, you lost a loved one, you lost your mom, your dad, spouse. I mean, I've never lost a spouse. I don't know how that hit.
I don't want to know how it hits. I don't want to know how it's rough out there. Have you heard of how difficult it is to date and find like a mate? So having one, I don't even want to know what it feels like to lose it. So I don't want to know how that one hits. Sorry.
I think he hit different. I'm pretty sure he hit different. I'm pretty sure that the pain is different.
It's got to be. It has to be a different level.
So last year, my ex-fiance, we never got married, but we still stay friends over the years.
Okay.
And I've been in the state for 20 years, and we're still friends. So last year, and we still stay in touch. He's back in Ghana. We still stay in touch. Hey, how are you doing? How's your family? He got married. How's your family doing?
He went back to Ghana?
No, he lived in Ghana. We were engaged when I was in my 17.
Okay.
But we never
got married. Okay.
So we stay friends.
Okay.
And he was, checking on me. How are you doing? How's life? And I check on him. How's your family? How's everything going?
Right.
And I found out I kept texting and he wasn't responding. I was like, this is so weird. Like,
right.
We always checked in. Like, this is so weird. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm just thinking this.
Right.
And I was like, something's not right. I kept feeling the whole of that day, something doesn't feel right. And even though we are not together, we are good friends.
And connected.
Yes. And so I was like, okay, let me find out. So I was like, why you not leaving me a message on Facebook? You know how Facebook.
Yes. And I'll be checking to see when's the last time he was on Facebook.
I went on Facebook and it was all on Facebook.
He died?
He died.
How?
Accident.
Oh no.
And even though we were not together, it hit.
Okay.
And it hit different.
So did you play the what if game with that?
I did not play what if what if game because I don't have the power, you know, and also we were not together,
Right.
we were just friends, and
Right.
we just checking once in a while with each other. How is your life and how's my life and
Right.
what's going on. So I didn't play what if, but it hit different.
I don't know.
I felt sad.
Yes.
I was like, damn, he was just there.
You can't prepare for it.
And then he's no longer, like, I just spoke to him
Yeah.
2 weeks ago. And today he's no longer, like,
That's hard.
you can never be prepared, and life is too short.
It is, and with a situation like that, you never really get closure.
Yeah.
You know,
There's no closure.
because at least with your parents and even your family, you can get closure sometimes through someone else, because they'll tell you that they just asked about you, or
yeah.
they, you know, they always spoke so highly of you,
Yeah.
or they were so proud of you. Like, you can get that extra closure. But for a friend to die or pass, and you were unable to talk to them, and you tried to reach out to them, it makes it just that much harder.
It does.
Mhm.
It does.
Well, I'm sorry for your loss. I know that was hard.
It wasn't like super hard, but as a friend, it kind of like hurt.
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely.
Why did not he's no longer? So it's like, yeah. So if you're out there and you just lost a loved one, either your mom or your spouse or your child, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for your loss. I know that the pain of losing someone, it's not easy to deal with, but keep trusting in God.
Yes, absolutely.
Keep living, keep breathing. It just take it one day at a time. Put one foot in front of the other and keep living.
Yes,
you know?
and live through it. Live
Yeah.
through it. Know that you can still have happiness and find a new version of your life without that person.
So that being said, here is Miss Elenda, and we thank you so much for today watching Tea Time, and we will see you again next time.
All right. Take care.
Mwah.